You're living a life that doesn't feel like yours. Deep down, you know it. You might push it away. Convince yourself everything's fine and go through the motions. Waking up, following routines, meeting expectations, delivering what's asked of you. But there's a quiet ache, an emptiness no achievement can fill, a nagging sense you're out of place, like you're acting in a play someone else wrote for you. You might have done everything right, studied hard, chased stability, followed the path your family or society laid out. Yet it's not enough. Why? Because this isn't your story. It's a script handed to you, dressed up as responsibility or normalcy. You become an edited version of yourself, and the scariest part? You're used to it. You smile for the camera, say the right things, and keep up the facade. But inside, the chaos grows. Carl Jung called this the betrayal of the self. When you silence your deepest impulses, ignore your dreams, or push away your intuition, you're turning your back on who you truly are. The cost is steep. Unexplained anxiety, a sense of stagnation, a discomfort with your own existence. It's your unconscious screaming while you try to keep everything under control. Jung believed your soul sends signals through dreams, persistent desires, or urges that keep resurfacing. Ignoring them is like silencing a fire alarm while the flames creep closer. This is what we're diving into. Jung's one essential rule for becoming whole. Stop living a story that isn't yours. This isn't just self-help fluff. It's a wake-up call. Much of your life might be built on external expectations, and the more you try to fit in, the more you fracture inside. Paulo Coelho's The Alchemist captures this perfectly. What seems like a simple fable is a psychological masterpiece disguised as a novel. Santiago, the young shepherd, is you. He starts with a safe, predictable life, doing what makes sense to others. But recurring dreams disrupt him, nudging him towards something he doesn't fully understand. You might not have literal dreams, but you feel them in other ways. Existential fatigue, the urge to break free, or that quiet question. What if my life could be different? This is for you if you're tired playing a role that doesn't fit. If you sense a truer life waiting but don't know how to reach it. Let's unpack the psychology behind The Alchemist. Explore how its characters reflect Jung's archetypes of the individuation journey and guide you toward the home within, the place where you can finally be yourself. The question is, will you keep playing the role you were given, or will you dare to write your own story? Jung's one rule: stop living someone else's story. Carl Jung didn't believe in one-size-fits-all solutions. The human psyche, he knew, is too complex for simple formulas. But one truth he emphasized with relentless clarity was this: the greatest burden a child carries is the unlived life of their parents. This hits hard if you spend your life trying to please, adapt, or belong. Jung's rule: the greatest challenge of a lifetime is to stop living a story that isn't yours. What does that mean? Every time you act to meet someone else's expectations, you drift further from yourself. Every choice made out of fear, of disapproval, rejection, or seeming irrational, chips away at your core. When you force your soul to follow a script that doesn't come from within, you wage war against yourself. That war takes its toll, maybe as anxiety, apathy, or a lingering sense of disconnection. Jung's studies of alchemy and dreams revealed that each of us carries a unique path to individuation, the journey from the persona, your social mask, to the self, your true essence. This path isn't easy. It demands breaking away from what's false to build what's true. The first step? Listen to what's inside, the discomfort you ignore, the dreams you dismiss, the urges that seem illogical. These are clues, internal maps, signs of your real story trying to emerge. Most of us live like puppets, reacting and obeying without asking, is this what I want? We mistake security for truth, clinging to empty careers, relationships, or routines out of fear disguised as maturity. Jung warned, the worst prison is built with bricks of comfort. His rule is simple but brutal. Stop living someone else's story. This doesn't mean abandoning everything overnight. It means paying attention. Question the roles you play. Notice when you stay silent instead of speaking, when you feel out of place despite smiling, when your choices feel like someone else's. This is an internal revolution, a reclaiming of your original narrative, the one that existed before scars, traumas, or conditioning. If you don't reclaim it, you will remain a character in someone else's play. Everyone might applaud, say you've done everything right, but only you'll feel the quiet death inside. Jung knew this call isn't loud. It's discomfort, dissatisfaction, a sense that something's missing even when you have it all. That's where the real work begins. The Alchemist, a mirror for your soul. The Alchemist isn't just a story about a shepherd chasing treasure. It's a metaphor for the deepest journey a human can take, returning to oneself. Paulo Coelho, knowingly or not, wrote a Jungian treatise in the form of a novel. That's why it resonates with millions. It doesn't teach. It reveals. It's a mirror reflecting your soul. Santiago, the shepherd, is the modern individual. His life is stable, predictable, routine. He knows his sheep, the seasons of fields. But a recurring dream disturbs him, a vision that won't let go. Jung taught that recurring dreams aren't random. They're messages from the unconscious, pushing the ego toward transformation. Santiago's treasure isn't just gold in Egypt. It's within him. To find it, he must cross deserts, both literal and symbolic. Every step of his journey mirrors the stages of individuation. When he leaves his flock, he's shedding his persona, the inherited identity. When he follows omens without fully understanding, he's trusting the unconscious. The alchemist doesn't give answers. It offers symbols. Each character is a psychic archetype, and every reader connects with a different part of the story. Some see themselves in Santiago's early doubts, others in his blind faith amid chaos, and some in the realization that the treasure was always where he began, but he needed the journey to see it. Jung said, "What irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves." In The Alchemist, what moves you reveals your wounds, blockages, and buried desires. The book is a magnifying glass of the soul, showing you who you are through the lens of Jung's alchemical stages. Nigredo, darkness, doubt, loss. Albedo, clarity, purification. And rubedo, integration, finding the inner gold. The archetypes, mirrors of your choices. Every character Santiago meets in The Alchemist is a psychological force within you, an archetype presenting a choice. These encounters aren't random. They're confrontations of the unconscious, moments where the ego decides to stay safe or dive into the unknown. The king of Salem, Melchizedek, he's a mentor, the spark of ancestral wisdom from the collective unconscious. He names Santiago's restlessness and offers a choice: stay in the known or pursue your personal legend. We all meet this mentor, a book, a person, an event, when the inner call becomes too loud to ignore. But not everyone listens. The Englishman, he's a scholar obsessed with knowledge but afraid of transformation. He seeks the philosopher's stone through books, not experience. Jung called this intellectual inflation. Thinking knowing is the same as living. If you've ever known how to change but couldn't, he's your mirror. The crystal merchant, he's a conformist, the one who heard the call but ignored it. He dreams of a pilgrimage to Mecca but stays in his shop, choosing fantasy over risk. He's the ego clinging to comfort, convincing you it's not the right time. He's likable, human, and dangerously relatable. The alchemist, the most enigmatic guide. He represents the integrated self, someone who's faced a fire or transformation. He doesn't explain. He provokes. He knows true gold is spiritual, born from confronting the shadow, pain, and ego. He's the highest aspect of your psyche, guiding you through death and rebirth. These characters aren't just fiction. They're possibilities within you. You've been the shepherd, the merchant, the scholar. Maybe you're standing before the mentor now, hearing the call to your own journey. The alchemical process, death and rebirth. Transformation begins with symbolic death, the mortification, where the ego's illusions crumble. For Santiago, this happens when he's robbed, left alone and disoriented. It's the universe saying, if you want truth, let go of control. Every obstacle he faces, carrying glass up a hill, facing disappointment, being misunderstood, is a ritual of purification. The ego must be stripped of fear and falsehood to reach the soul. Jung knew this pain is inevitable. The unconscious, when ignored, manifests as symptoms: anxiety, illness, crises, not out of cruelty but mercy, forcing you to listen. When you see pain as a messenger, not punishment, the desert becomes a temple, loneliness becomes listening, and failure becomes preparation. Santiago learns this in the desert, trusting the invisible when the world offers no guarantees. True wisdom comes from within, from the self, but only when the ego quiets and the mask falls. After mortification comes albedo, clarity, purification, the new beginning. But you must endure the collapse, not run from it. Fleeing pain means fleeing transformation, trapping you in a life that isn't yours. Following the signs, the language of the unconscious. Jung saw dreams as letters from the unconscious, especially recurring ones. Santiago's dream of treasure by the pyramids is an archetypal map. The treasure is itself. The pyramids symbolize ancient wisdom. These dreams aren't just nighttime visions. They're the urges you can't explain, the restlessness that won't fade. They're the self trying to lead. In The Alchemist, Santiago learns to follow omens, synchronicities, as Jung called them. These aren't magical coincidences, but meaningful alignments between your inner and outer worlds. When you're on your path, people appear, opportunities arise, obstacles reveal truths. But to see them, you must silence the ego's noise, step out of autopilot, and trust the inner guide you've ignored. How often have you dismissed a dream as nonsense or bared an urge to change? That's you rejecting your map. The unconscious, tired of being ignored, screams through anxiety, apathy, or illness. Jung warned that ignoring your inner life has consequences. Crises, emptiness, collapse. But these aren't punishments. They're invitations to live authentically. The treasure within, the journey's true end. When Santiago reaches the pyramids, he's beaten, humiliated, and empty-handed. The treasure, he learns, was buried back where he started, under the church where he first dreamed. This seems cruel. Why all the suffering for something so close? But here's the secret. The treasure only exists because of the journey. The desert, the losses, the archetypes. They transformed him. The gold isn't the goal. He is, Jung said, who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakens. Santiago dreamed outward but awoke inward. The treasure is yourself. The wholeness you find by facing your shadow, shedding expectations, and dying to who you thought you should be. Your pains, frustrations, and cycles aren't punishments. They're invitations to your individuation journey, to take authorship of your story. Your choice, cross the desert or stay trapped. There's no universal map for this journey. The Alchemist touches millions because it doesn't give answers. It asks, who would you be if you stopped pretending? You'll need to cross your soul's desert, face your fears, and listen to what you silenced. It starts with a choice, to stop ignoring the discomfort, to honor your dreams, to reject alive a life that traps you. You're standing at a door. On the other side is your story. No one can cross it for you. If this resonates, write in the comments, I am ready to live my story. You're not speaking to me. You're speaking to yourself. The journey doesn't end with an answer. It begins with a question. Where will you go from here? The desert of trials, the alchemical fire. Santiago's journey in The Alchemist is no fairy tale. It's a grueling odyssey marked by loss, betrayal, and moments where everything feels pointless. When he's robbed early on, left penniless and alone, it's not just a plot point. It's mortification, the symbolic death Jung described as a start of transformation. This is where the ego, bloated with illusions of control, begins to crumble. You felt this too. Moments when life strips away your certainties, leaving you raw and disoriented. A job loss, a broken relationship, a dream that collapses. It hurts because you're shedding the persona you've clung to for safety. Jung knew these trials are essential. The soul demands authenticity, and there's no room for it while you're busy keeping up appearances. Every obstacle Santiago faces, carrying glass up a hill, enduring betrayal, or standing alone in the desert, is an initiatory ritual. These aren't punishments. They're purifications. The alchemical fire burns away fear, pride, and the lies you've told yourself to survive. You can't reach your treasure with hands full of what's false. Maybe your trials have come as failures, illnesses, or sudden ruptures. Jung said the unconscious, when ignored, speaks through symptoms. That anxiety that won't quit, that chronic dissatisfaction, that physical ache with no clear cause. They're not random. They're your soul's way of shouting, this isn't your path. When you stop seeing these as curses and start seeing them as messengers, everything shifts. The desert becomes a temple. Loneliness becomes a space for listening. Failure becomes preparation. Santiago learns this when he's forced to trust the invisible, when the world offers no guarantees, and he must rely on his inner compass. This is deeply Jungian. True wisdom comes not from external validation, but from contact with the self. The archetypes, mirrors of your inner world. Every character Santiago meets is a psychological archetype, a reflection of the forces within you. In part 1, we met the king of Salem, the mentor, the Englishman, the intellectual, the crystal merchant, the conformist, and the alchemist, the integrated self. Let's dive deeper into their roles and introduce another key figure. The shadow, the parts of you that you buried but must face to become whole. The king of Salem, Melchizedek, he's more than a wise guide. He's the spark of the collective unconscious, the voice that names your restlessness. When he offers Santiago the choice to pursue his personal legend, he's asking you, will you stay safe or risk everything for what's true? You've met this mentor too, maybe in a book, a conversation, or a moment of clarity. But listening requires courage, because it means leaving familiar behind. The Englishman, he's a trap of intellectualism, chasing knowledge without transformation. He studies alchemy, but fears the fire of real change. Jung warned of intellectual inflation, thinking you can think your way to wholeness. If you've ever read every self-help book but stayed stuck, the Englishman is your mirror, urging you to move beyond theory and into action. The crystal merchant, he's the most human and the most dangerous. He dreams of pilgrimage but stays in his shop, choosing comfort over risk. He's a voice in your head saying, it's not the right time. Don't rock the boat. Jung would say he's an ego refusing to die, clinging to a life that suffocates the soul. His likability makes him insidious. He's the part of you that rationalizes staying small. The alchemist, the guide who's walked the path, he embodies a self, the integrated psyche that knows transformation requires facing the fire. He doesn't coddle Santiago. He challenges him to confront his fears and let go of control. He's the voice within you that knows your potential, but only emerges when you're ready to surrender your illusions. The shadow, this archetype, absent as a single character but woven throughout the story, is the parts of you you've rejected, anger, fear, shame, or desires you've deemed unacceptable. When Santiago is robbed or humiliated, he's facing his shadow, the raw truth of his vulnerability. Jung taught that the shadow isn't evil. It's a source of vitality. Ignoring it keeps you fragmented. Embracing it makes you whole. These archetypes aren't just in the book, they're in you. You've been the hesitant shepherd, the dreamer who delays, the scholar who overthinks. The question is, which will you choose to become? The alchemist shows that every encounter is a crossroads, a chance to move toward or away from yourself. The language of signs, synchronicity, and the unconscious. Jung believed the unconscious speaks constantly, through dreams, intuitions, and what he called synchronicities, meaningful coincidences that bridge your inner and outer worlds. In The Alchemist, Santiago learns to read omens, a hawk's flight, a chance meeting, a gut feeling. These aren't random. They're the universe mirroring his soul's alignment. When you're on your path, life responds, people appear, doors open, even obstacles reveal hidden truths. You felt this too. That moment when a stranger says exactly what you needed to hear, or an opportunity arrives just when you're ready to act. But seeing these signs requires silence in the ego's chatter. Santiago only understands the language of the world when he stops overthinking and trusts his intuition. This isn't mysticism. It's psychological openness. Your unconscious knows where you need to go, even if your rational mind lags behind. Have you ever had a dream you dismissed as foolish? An urge to change your life that you buried as impractical? That's yourself trying to guide you. Ignore it, and it screams louder through anxiety, restlessness, or a sense that life lacks meaning. Jung warned that modern life's greatest mistake is thinking you can ignore your inner world without consequences. The price is high, crises, emptiness, or a life that feels like a stranger's. The treasure revealed, the gold is you. Santiago's journey ends with a twist that feels like a betrayal. After crossing deserts and facing death, he learns the treasure was buried where he started, under the church where he first dreamed. Why the suffering, the losses, the endless road? Because the treasure wasn't there until he made the journey. The gold isn't literal. It's him, transformed. Jung's alchemy teaches that the true philosopher's stone is a self, forged through trials, shadow work, and surrender. This is the heart of the alchemist in Jung's psychology. The journey creates the treasure. Every loss, every archetype, every moment of doubt or courage reshapes you. Santiago's external quest was always an internal one. The pyramids, the desert, the omens, they were mirrors reflecting his soul's evolution. Jung said, "Who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakens." You might be chasing external goals, success, love, approval, only to realize they can't fill the void. The real treasure is inside, but you need the journey to find it. Your journey, the choice to awaken. Your life is an alchemical process, a series of deaths and rebirths. The pain you faced, heartbreak, failure, disillusionment, isn't meaningless. It's the fire purifying you, burning away what's false to reveal what's true. But you have to choose to keep going. The alchemist doesn't offer a roadmap. It asks, who would you be if you stopped pretending? You're at a crossroads. On one side is a familiar story, safe, applauded, but hollow. On the other is your story, waiting in the desert of your soul. It's not easy. You'll face your shadow, your fears, your conditioning. You'll need to listen to the omens, the restlessness, the dreams, the quiet urges you've ignored. But every step toward authenticity is a step toward wholeness. This journey doesn't end, it evolves. If this resonates, write in the comments, "I am ready to live my story." It's not for me. It's a promise to yourself. The desert is calling. Will you cross it? Albedo, the purification of the soul. After the darkness of mortification, the symbolic death of the false self, comes albedo, the stage of clarity and purification. In The Alchemist, Santiago begins to see the world differently after his trials. The desert, once a place of fear and loss, becomes a space of revelation. He starts trusting his intuition, reading omens with confidence, and relying less on external structures. This is albedo. The soul begins to shine through as the ego's grip loosens. You felt glimpses of this. Maybe it was a moment of sudden clarity after a crisis, when you realize what truly matters. Maybe it was a quiet certainty that you're meant for something more, even if you can't name it yet. Jung described albedo as the stage where intuition sharpens and the noise of the world fades. You begin to hear your inner voice, not the one shaped by expectations, but the one that knows who you are. But albedo isn't a destination. It's a process. It requires facing the shadow, the parts of you you've buried, like anger, shame, or dreams you dismiss as impractical. Santiago's encounters with betrayal and hardship force him to confront his vulnerabilities. You, too, must look at what you've avoided. That nagging restlessness, that fear of failure, that desire you've silenced. They're not enemies. They're keys to your wholeness. In albedo, you stop running from these truths and start integrating them. It's painful but liberating, like washing away years of dust to reveal the gold beneath. Rubedo, the birth of the true self. The final stage of the alchemical process is rubedo, the integration of the self, where you become whole. In The Alchemist, this is Santiago's moment of revelation at the pyramids. Beaten, exhausted, and seemingly defeated, he learns the treasure was buried where he began, under the church where he first dreamed. But the gold only exists because of the journey. Rubedo is the realization that the treasure is you, transformed by the trials, archetypes, and omens you faced. Jung saw rubedo as a union of opposites, ego and unconscious, light and shadow, outer and inner. It's not about perfection, but authenticity. Santiago doesn't become a flawless hero. He becomes himself, fully alive and aligned with his personal legend. For you, rubedo is a moment you stop seeking external validation, success, approval, or security, and embrace your inner truth. It's when you live not for others, but for the story written in your soul. This stage isn't a one-time event. It's a lifelong practice. Every choice to honor your intuition, to face your shadow, to follow an omen, brings you closer to rubedo. You might feel it in small moments, saying no to a role that doesn't fit, pursuing a passion despite doubt, or forgiving yourself for past mistakes. These are sparks of the inner gold, proof that you're becoming who you were always meant to be. The lifelong journey, living your story. The Alchemist ends with Santiago's revelation, but your journey doesn't. Jung's rule, stop living a story that isn't yours, is a lifelong commitment. The world will keep pulling you back, tempting you with comfort, approval, or fear disguised as practicality. The crystal merchant's voice will whisper, it's not the right time. The Englishman will urge you to overthink instead of act. But the alchemist within you, the integrated self, knows better. It asks, what would you do if you weren't afraid? Living your story means staying awake. It's noticing when you slip into old patterns, people-pleasing, self-doubt, or chasing hollow goals. It's listening to the omens, those synchronicities that nudge you toward your path, like a chance encounter or a sudden gut feeling. It's embracing the desert, not as punishment, but as a sacred space where you're forged anew. Jung believed the unconscious never stops speaking. Your dreams, intuitions, and even your pain are its language. That recurring urge to change your life, to create, to break free, it's not nonsense. It's yourself calling you home. Ignore it, and the cost is steep. A life that feels like a stranger's, marked by anxiety, apathy, or emptiness. Answer it, and you step into the alchemical fire, where every trial, every archetype, every omen shapes you into gold. The choice is yours. Write your narrative. You're standing at a door, as you always are. On one side is a familiar script, safe, predictable, but not yours. On the other is your story, waiting in the unknown. The alchemist doesn't give you answers. It holds up a mirror and asks, who would you be if you stopped pretending? Your desert is unique. Your omens are personal. Your treasure is you. Crossing that door means choosing discomfort over complacency. It means facing your shadow, trusting your intuition, and letting go of what others expect. It's not easy, but it's necessary. Every step you take, every time you say yes to your truth, is a step toward wholeness. Jung said, the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. That privilege is yours, but only if you claim it. If this stirs something in you, write in the comments, I am ready to live my story. It's a vow to yourself, a spark of rubido. The journey doesn't end. It deepens. Keep listening. Keep walking. Keep becoming. Your story is waiting.